back. For those of you that are new, welcome in. My name is Susan. I am a freelance fiction editor specializing in sci-fi, fantasy, and romance. And today we're going to talk about creating a cover design brief for your book. A cover brief is an overview of the key details about your story, your design preferences, your ideal comparable titles, and any other details you might think are important as you approach designing a cover, whether that be through a publisher, an independent designer, or doing it yourself. Having a clear vision of what you want and the market can not only save you time and money, but it can also help you reach the right audience and sell more books. I've created a free cover design brief template for you to download, the link's below, so feel free to check that out and follow along as we break down the different sections on the brief so you can design the perfect cover for your upcoming story, or you can just follow along and take notes, whatever works best for you. So the goal of a cover is to catch the reader's eye and give them an instant feel or idea for the type of story you're selling. So keep that in mind and let's dive in. The first section is pretty self-explanatory, but still vital: book details. This includes title, series title and book number, if any, the author name, genre, subgenre, and book formats. That's a lot, so let's break that down a bit. The title. Consider how your title is going to fit on your cover with the image or cover idea you have in mind. Should the title be short, long? Is there a market trend you want to follow or bend? For example, when A Court of Thorns and Roses came to fame, not only did the number of fantasy romances increase, is still increasing, but the style of title also became popular, which led to successors like A Serpent and The Wings of Night from Blood and Ash, The Song of the Marked, Curse of Shadow and Thorns. You can see the pattern here, and I could keep going. Looking at the style, the design, the rhythm of the title, you can see the influences of ACOTAR, whether intentional or not, which I can't speak to. But thinking about your title is key as you decide the direction you want your cover design to go. Series title and book number, if any. If you're writing a series, having a series title and book number on the front and spine of your book is key to help readers navigate and find the correct title in the series. Most people assume the spine, but that only works if it's going to be in print. If you're doing E first or E only, having it on the front is important as well, and keeping it in mind for the design, leaving space for it on the front. Author name. If you've already chosen your author name, this one's probably pretty self-explanatory. But if you're a new author or writing under a new pen name, consider how your author name is going to look on the cover. Like with the title, do you want to take up space, be minimal? Do you have any awards or titles that you'll want to include with it that will take up that space in the design as well? You may be thinking, what does the style or size of my name matter? If I'm new, no one's going to recognize my name. True, but that doesn't mean that will always be the case. The goal is for that to not always be the case. You're building a brand, and starting that early can only help as you gain traction with your audience. So have a think on how you may want this to look, not only now, but books down the line. Genre and subgenre. It's important to include genre and, if possible, subgenre in your cover brief so your cover artist can consider any audience or market trends. And subgenre can make a big difference, so it is something to include if you can. For example, all of these books are classified as fantasy, and they are, but they are wildly different types of fantasy, subgenres within the fantasy genre, and therefore appeal to different readers within. So being as clear as possible is key to make sure you're grabbing the right audience. Book formats. Consider what your book format may change for your cover design. If you're considering publishing ebook only, or again ebook first, your cover is generally going to be quite small on the screen for the most part. So you may want to consider bigger images, bigger or bold type, or just a more bold design. If you know you're going to have a print format, make sure you let your cover artist know what format it's going to be so they can design with that size in mind. Hardcover is a very different size than trade paperback or mass market. The next section is story details. This section dives into what the story is about, the feel, and the specifics you may want shown to connect the story to your image, to your cover. We've all seen covers where the main character's description does not match the cover in any way, shape, or form, and how frustrating that can be. Don't let that happen to you. But it can be more than that as well. First, story hook and logline. While these can be used interchangeably, they are actually two different things. For the purpose of this cover brief, we're going to divide them up. A story hook is a line of copy that is, well, a hook for the story. You'll commonly find this on the cover of books or as the first line as the back cover copy. Slightly different from that, a log line is a sentence or two that shows what the story is about by highlighting a story contrast. You'll want both on your cover brief. The first is a great line to consider including in the design of the book, while the second gives the cover designer more of an idea of the story without needing to read the full draft, because A, they may not have time to, and B, your draft may not even be finished yet by the time you're reaching out to your cover designer, because you do generally want to reach out to cover designers relatively early in the process because they can get booked up. Next is main character descriptions. Whether you decide to have a character-led cover or not, it is always a great idea to include short character descriptions in your cover brief. And this includes not only physical descriptions, but also a sentence or two of personality traits as well. Like with the story hook and logline, this can give the designer a feel for the story and also the voice. A great example of this is The Legend of Eli Monpress. If you haven't read this series, I highly recommend it. It is one of my favorites. But the big takeaway from this cover is the energy and the personality of the main character. Just from this image, you can tell he's a bit of a troublemaker. He's cocky and he's ready to take on the world. Without knowing anything else about this story, you can tell that from here. And that's because the design brief included his personality, which is a key aspect of the story, not just his looks. So including that and having that be in the instant recognition for readers is key, and I think really helped sell this series. Next is core setting descriptions. While I'm sure there are a number of settings in your story, giving the cover artist an idea for the core setting is helpful as they decide the backdrop of your design if that's going to be in the image. And that doesn't mean it has to be a real city or town. If your story takes place in New Orleans, obviously that's helpful. But even general setting feel can add a lot to your cover and get an instant idea of your book. If your story is a sci-fi, is it mainly in space? Is it on a ship? Is it on a foreign planet? If your story is a romance, is it small town, big city billionaire, paranormal? Finally, in this section, any key symbols or visuals. Other than being visually pleasing, this isn't necessarily going to instantly give the reader an idea of the story, but it is something that can continue throughout a series and can be a fun consistency as the books build, or just be a cool idea if you decide to go the more illustrative or sort of symbolic route versus having a setting or a character on the front. The third section is the cover deep dive. Looking past the story, what else do you, your designer, and or your publisher need to know to create the perfect cover for your story? First, you want to look at comparable title covers. Pull at least 3, if not more, covers of popular titles that are comparable to yours to give the cover artist an idea of what is currently trending and working in that market. They may already know, but it is really helpful for you as the author to show what you're looking at, what you think is most popular right now. You'll want them to be in the same genre, have a similar story feel if possible, and be published within the last 3 years or less to make sure they are current market comps. These cover comps will tie in a lot with the preferences we just discussed earlier about the earlier sections, and some may change some of your answers. So linking back to title size and length, character setting, and more. And then you can decide if you want to go with this current trend or break the mold. Next is favorite covers. And they may be the same, but they may be very different. Pull some of your favorite covers, some covers that caught your eye, made you pick up that book. While it's helpful if they're in the same genre as yours, it isn't a requirement for this section. These covers are more to give the cover designer an idea of your personal style, what you gravitate toward, and what catches your eye. Ideally, then, they'll be able to find a good balance between this and the comparable title covers to find something you love that your readers can't wait to buy. Image inspirations. Any images that you love or might help inspire your cover designer or give them ideas, always great to include. Color scheme, author branding, color preference, anything like that, anything to help them make those decisions so you don't have to continue to have back and forth, so they can start with as much knowledge as possible about what you like and what you want. And finally, the last section, your author cover decisions. The above questions gave the designer all the information they'd need to create any of these options, but this is your chance to tell them exactly what you want or what you think works best for your story. Depending on how you publish, you may or may not have full control of these choices, but it's always good to have a firm idea of what you want so you can give as much feedback as possible. So do you want a big title or a big picture? Is the main focus going to be a character, a setting, or a symbol? Is the art going to be photo or illustrated? Do you want to leave room for quotes and a story hook, or do you want it to be more focused on either the title or the image? And finally, this is a big thing that a lot of authors overlook: budget. While you may have already budgeted to hire a designer if you're independently published, you'll also want to consider how much the actual cover is going to cost. Depending on what you decide, you can go quite minimal. There's stock images, free use font, there's stock covers, or you can go really in depth and decide to buy images, have something specifically drawn or designed for your book, and more. These costs would be outside of hiring the designer, so you want to make sure to keep that in mind as you budget and as you decide on your designs. As you can see, there can be a ton of work that goes into a cover design brief, but making it as detailed as possible can go a long way into making your cover process smooth and successful to lead to more readers and more book sales. Hopefully this has been helpful. Don't forget to download the free cover design workbook if you haven't already, and while you're there, check out the other workbooks and courses that I offer to help you along your writing and publishing journey. Don't hesitate to comment if you have any publishing questions. I would love to hear from you. Like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a video, and until next time, keep writing.